coastal African countries. I can't recommend Morocco to you. Just at night, the streets, and I've said that before and had women get very angry at me, like, well, I can't. I'm like, I'm all about the power of women, but at night, some of these men are pigs, and if you're on your own, it can go south on you. And so let's just leave dangerous at night countries out for a moment. As you saw tonight, I have not an obsession, but a great interest in Southeast Asia, because it's all clumped together, Southeast Asia. You can go to Vietnam, and in 45 minutes, boom, you're in Cambodia, you're in Laos, you're in Burma, and it's insanely beautiful. The food is unbelievably good, and the people are some of the most gentle and friendly people I've ever met, and it's so different than here. I mean, just the vegetation is different. Just geckos walking up the sides of the hotels, big tokay geckos, just amazing fruit bats everywhere. It's fantastic, and the history it's fascinating and kind of sad and kind of rough. Like when you take tours of and learn about all the unexploded ordnance in Laos. It's tough. The Vietnam-American relationship in the war museums you can go to in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, are intense. You can learn a lot. So it's a very cheap holiday. The food is incredible. Those living, like night to night in a hotel, super cheap. And it's just different. And if I was going to go to one, go to them all. Just like spend a month in Southeast Asia. So I would recommend that. If you want something a little bit less pizzazz, Europe is really easy to get to from here. We're on the East Coast. You can be in London in like 5 or 6 hours. It's not the most exciting place in the world, but it's London, and it's really good, and the museums are great. You can look at Chaucer's writing and John Lennon's writing and Shakespeare's writing in the big National Museum. You can take the train anywhere in England. The UK is great. Ireland, Scotland, Northern Ireland is fascinating. Scandinavia is incredible. The continent of Europe, you just take a train. Boom, just get a Euro rail pass, and anywhere you see on the train station, you can go. You want to go to Italy? So shut up and get on the train. You're in Italy. It's incredible. And people are friendly, and everyone speaks English. Like everyone, unless they're like 80, you'll find some people in like some rural parts of Germany or Italy or Spain, maybe not so much English, but someone else will speak English. And people are, for the most part, incredibly friendly and very welcoming. And they're used to Americans coming through, so you can fall over and they go, the doctor's over there. They're ready. And it's a way to be, and World War II history is intense, but there's a lot to learn. Like when you go to Berlin, they left a lot of it blowed up, so you can go, that's what it looks like. There's a lot to learn, a lot to see, and a lot of just wonderful people, and a lot of culture. And it's easy to get to, and Eurorail makes it easy, and they're used to tourists, and so it's easy to be a foreigner and get around. And or if you can just go to Africa so easily from Europe, just like 90 minutes, boom, you're in Tunisia out of Spain. And so the African continent, the north of it is just like right there. And you have to be careful in Africa. I've been a bunch of times. You just have to watch yourself. It's a different kind of poverty. It's a different kind of poverty than like Buddhist poverty or Hindu poverty. It's not necessarily begging in the street. It's like I need the arm to get the watch. It's like I be careful. South America, I have not been in nearly as much as I've been to like the Middle East and Central Asia and Southeast Asia, but I've never had a bad time. Anywhere you can get up into the Andes. I was in the Peruvian Andes last year. Peru, I was in Cusco and Lima. Amazing food, amazing people, one record store. Closed when I got there. Cusco was amazing. I was jammed up in the Andes. I was in Ecuador a couple of years ago on a little sciencey eco trip on the Manatee, a little boat. Great food, great people, lots of monkeys, incredible ants, woodcutter ants. They just carry leaves, just don't get in their way. South America, I want to go to more and more because I want to do more river travel. There's a lot to learn there. So those are places. Then you can get kind of extreme. The Middle East is, you have to be careful, just do your cultural research before you go. Of course, Australia, New Zealand. I've been to Australia, I think 37 times. Every third person in Australia is in a band that's really good. I probably have their record. Australia, New Zealand is a great twofer. It's a long haul ass flight. It's like 14 hours or something. It'll break you, but the people are great on the other side. It's a beautiful patch of real estate, nice people, good food. And there's lots of things that can eat you and bite you and kill you. It's bitching. You really have to watch your ass. There are real sharks in the water, and almost every surfer has an experience. Oh yeah, might one bump me out of the way. You're like, why do you surf? So yeah, the sharks are a bit bitey. Like, yes, they're bitey. So those are places I would recommend. I've been to almost about 100 countries. And like I said tonight, the only country where I've nearly been killed was America. The rest of everywhere else was really, really cool. So this is a very arcane question. Did you once live in a church in Redondo Beach, California? This is going to the ancient history of Black Flag. Back before I was a singer in Black Flag was holed up in a church. And Black Flag was very well known for living in this church. And when I became a member of Black Flag, I was a fan of the band who became a member of the band. So I wanted to know everything. So I bugged Spot one day, because we were living in the same hovel, an office space. We're all sleeping on the floor with bugs in our hair. And I said, I want to go to the church. Show me where the church was. So we just power walked 4 miles to the beach, and we went to the old church, and it was closed up. But some window slat was open, and I looked in. And if you watch Penelope Spheris' great documentary on punk rock called Decline of Western Civilization, she interviewed Black Flag in that church. And it's the Ron Reyes version, the second singer of Black Flag, Ron, otherwise known as Chavo. That's the name Greg and Chuck cruelly gave the great Ron Reyes. And so that's the church. So it's a very obscure question. That was before my time. And I get asked a lot of questions about Black Flag, and I've just gotten used to it. For many years, I kind of resisted it, that's the past, man. But then I hang out with Ozzy Osbourne whenever I can, just because he's the world's best guy. And every 13-year-old kid's you were in Black Sabbath, man. He's like, yeah, man. And they have a translator come in. I'm kidding. But he just kind of wears it. And an odd friendship I have with this guy named Bill Shatner, William Shatner. It's so weird. We're friends for a million years. And he gets asked a lot of, you were Captain Kirk, dude. And he resisted it for years, and at one point he went, screw it, I am. And so I get asked a lot of questions about Black Flag, so I've become one of Black Flag's custodians. So I answer the questions as best as I can when they come in. This is one of the most interesting questions I've ever been given from Nico. Is this you who did this? Have you ever hopped a freight train? Hell no, you wild thing. Everybody I've ever talked to said that is a great way to get killed. I mean, it has nothing but downside, because some people who hop trains are some very edgy characters. No, I've never done it. And I wouldn't do it just because I'm not looking for adventure, like getting my throat cut at night or getting robbed or something. Maybe that's just some awful urban legend. But no, I've never done it. However, I've met some people who have. I've met some genuine youth hobos who just live out in it. And I started meeting kids like that who hop trains in the Black Flag days when I'd be in Portland, Oregon. And you meet some real hardcore kids left home at 12 because they just got tired of getting beat up by the stepfather, and they've been living out in it for years, and they are real hard. They've seen awful things happen. And a lot of them hop trains. They get around on the trains. So no, I've never done it. And Nico, I'm sure you've got stories that would peel the paint off your car.
My ride was only 5 hours.
Well, that's enough for something bad to happen. There's one of those Bill Curtis narrated A&E crime things about someone who was killed. A homeless guy killed another homeless guy, and the cops had to go on trains to find the culprit. But that's a fascinating answer. I wish I had the guts as a younger person to hop aboard one of those trains. Trust me, whenever I see a train go by, I think about it.
Right.
One of the best books I've ever read in America, from an American writer, Nelson Algren, who wrote The Man with the Golden Arm, that Frank Sinatra made the movie out of. His first book was called Somebody in Boots. And he wrote it about the Depression, and he actually hopped trains with hobos and rode around Depression-era America and wrote the book. And it was out of print in America for years, and I tried to put it out on my company, but the estate wouldn't let me. It's back in print, and it's he literally lived with hobos trying to see what it's like, getting chased by the bulls at the train station, getting their heads caved in. It's a great look at Dust Bowl era America.